Hi everyone, it's Nicole Spohr here today with two Christmas front porch scene cards, sharing ideas using the November 2019 Hero Arts My Monthly Hero main kit. Both of these cards feature predominantly the main kit, this first card only the main kit, and my second card uses one of the add-ons, but I really wanted to showcase a couple of different ways you can use the main kit. Most specifically, the front porch scene. So for my first card, which features Copic coloring, I used the rectangle frame and that front porch scene die. This is one of the fancy dies that comes in the main kit to die cut this from smooth white cardstock. This is Neenah 80-pound weight cardstock that I will then color with Copic markers. I can color with Copics. It's going to bleed through to the back side of this. It does not matter because I'm going to be placing this entire panel on the front of a white top fold card base. I have listed the shades of green and red, as well as the two shades of warm gray that I'm using for the bricks. So I've used the red for the bow on the arch and the greens for the greenery along the arch. And then I'm filling in the bricks. Yes, there's a lot of bricks here. No, it really didn't take that long to color in. I actually just worked really fast, laying down a little dark, blending out with the light, not worrying about being super specific. It's more about adding that touch of color. I want this to look like white brick. I know it seems kind of funny to use warm gray markers. These are light warm gray markers to create the white brick, but once you've added the color and blended it out, it gives that idea of depth and dimension without actually adding loads of color. So once we have everything colored in, once we've added the rest of the red for the bows and the dark for the door, and even the mat there in front of the front door and any other greenery and things that we're going to add to our card design, it really does give that illusion of a white bricked background. I loved the white brick so much that I'm actually going to do the same thing for my second card. It's just going to feature a different kind of cardstock because I'm creating a different kind of scene card that's a little more interactive. This one is not interactive. Yes, that door will open up if you want it to. I am not going to be opening up the front door for this card. We're going to just attach it straight to our card base. Instead, this is just going to be a more traditional flat card design with all of our fun little elements and things. And then we'll just put this whole panel on a white card base. So just a couple of different ways to use this exact same scene. Love the kit this month. Probably hands down one of my very favorites just because all of the amazing components in the main kit can be used in lots of ways. You can mix and match in lots of ways. You can use them with some of the add-ons. Just really spectacular. The awesome front door. This is so intricate, detailed, beautiful, and can be used a little bit more simply than what I'm doing. If you guys already follow me, you know that I like to do what's called extra. I really enjoy the coloring process, so for me, coloring all these little things in, not a big deal. I'm going to use some darker warm gray shades for both the door casing and the door. You can do this in lots of ways. I'm going to show you a little bit different way on the second card, but I just really, the door is the focal point on this card. It's not going to be interactive. It's not going to open up. Because of that, I wanted it to be super prominent, but also be nice and neutral as a great kind of focal point to decorate with our wreath, with letters coming out of the mail slot, with the topiaries we're going to put next to the front door, our welcome mat in front of the door, and then the light fixtures on the front of the house. Hero Arts has thought of everything with this kit. It is phenomenal. I have not seen anything quite like this before, and I just think it is incredible. It's an amazing value, you guys. Everything that you get in this kit for 35 bucks basically is just amazing. So you're getting all the fancy dies, you're getting the dies to die cut the elements, you're getting other fancy dies, the topiaries, letters, wreath, and I'm trying to think if there's anything else in there. They all are fancy dies. Meaning they don't have a corresponding stamp. Then there's all these images on the stamp set that have coordinating dies. So you're just getting a lot of value here for your money. Plus there's some plastic ornaments in the kit. There's a crystal lacquer pen. Trying to think what else. It's just chock full. It is so amazing. I'm absolutely in love with this. Now you probably saw I stamped the welcome mat outline down here below. It does die cut the welcome mat. So I stamped the mat here and I'm coloring it in. On my second card, I'm not going to stamp the outline. I'm just going to color it in. Different ways you can do this. We are going to stamp and emboss the word welcome on the mat and emboss it with white embossing powder. There are two phrases that actually fit on the mat that goes on in front of the front door, or if you want to use it in the house, whatever you want to do there. So there's a couple of options if you want to customize it with words. There's hello and welcome. My other card will feature hello. This card features welcome. And that's basically our front porch. Now, the arch window above the door and the light fixtures, those pieces pop out. I popped them out. I think they probably came out when I die cut it. So you're going to want to maybe do something back behind there. Just the light fixture part of those lights, those light sconces next to the front door, come out, not the actual light fixture. I did color those in with dark warm grays. So I'm going to come back to that and show you how I dressed up those aspects of our card front. We're also going to color in these other fancy cut dies. So remember here I was talking, there's other dies that don't have coordinating stamps like this front door. These are the topiaries, the wreath, and the two letters. I've die cut these all from smooth white cardstock, and I'm coloring them in with Copic markers. And I love this technique. I think it's amazing. I am working on a glass matte work surface. This is important in the fact that it's easy to clean off with a little stamp cleaner, rubbing alcohol, something like that. If you are coloring in your fancy cuts with alcohol ink markers, or any markers really, make sure you're working on a surface that it's not going to stain or mar. A glass surface works good. You could also just work on a scrap piece of paper, anything like that, you guys. So definitely kind of keep that in mind if you are going to custom color in your die cut fancy cuts. Very traditional coloring with greenery for the topiaries, brown stems, red planters. I really liked the pops of red that kind of go in the top third with those bows in the greenery in the archway, the middle of the card, which is the wreath hanging on the front door, and then the bottom third of the card, which is the topiaries. Trying to hit those little touches of red all the way through and those little touches of green. We're going to attach our topiaries and our wreath to our scene with foam adhesive. This adds a great little pop of dimension, and I will be using foam adhesive on my second card as well because I really, really like this effect. I'm actually using thin foam adhesive strips on the back of the wreath. If you take the backing paper off, you're able to really bend the foam adhesive super easy. So I just kind of made it in the shape of a circle and then popped it right there on the front door. I love that wreath. That just says Christmas to me. And then I, of course, love the topiaries because I think they just dress up the bottom part of the card really nicely. They fill in that front porch area beautifully. We'll go ahead and color the second topiary just like the first and pop it in place with foam adhesive as well. Very, very fast coloring. I would also recommend cleaning your surface in between switching colors so you don't accidentally transfer something like red into a lighter area. I put some crystal lacquer over the doorknob on the door, and I'm going to let that completely dry. We're adding in little touches of additional Copic coloring here and there, kind of along the base, the front porch area of our card. And then we're ready for finishing details. The rest of our finishing details are the two letters here that were die cut from smooth white cardstock. We're going to color with our red color combination and our green color combination, and we're going to tuck them into the mail slot and secure those. I love that. I think those are so, so cute. Probably one of my favorite things about this card is that mail slot and these teeny tiny letters. I just think they're darling. And then the final thing we're going to do is add detail to the light elements for this card. That means the window up above the doorway and the sconces next to the front door. I'm going to just line another piece of cardstock back behind this. I'm going to use a pencil to very, very lightly draw in where those elements go, and I'm using some Copic markers in Y11, 8, and 17 to add the light coming from those elements to my background panel. Remember, we are using Copic markers, so there is bleed through. I did not do this on my card base itself, as I didn't want you to open up the card and then see, yellow bleeding through the cardstock. So this has a couple of layers to it. It's not going to add a super big amount of bulk. I'm only using 80-pound weight cardstock, not the 110, so it's not super duper thick. But we're just adding some shading in. It does not have to be super perfect or anything like that, because when you place your front porch panel over that, it looks like the lights are on, and that is the effect I was going for. That turned out perfectly. I love how that looks. We're going to just take a little liquid adhesive and secure those letters coming out of the mail slot. We'll place this whole panel on a white top fold card base, and that will finish up the first Front Porch Christmas scene card, featuring the main kit dies used to create our card. Next, we're going to create an interactive card design. So that front door opens. For this card, I wanted it to open to kind of give a sneak peek and reveal what's inside the card, but I still want to be able to see everything inside the card. To do this, we are going to take some Bristol smooth cardstock and trim a panel that measures 4 1/4 by 8.5 inches. This is going to be a standard top fold card base. I'll score this in half at 5.5 inches. And then we're going to open our card back up. And we're going to use the front porch die, but only use the scene building part, not the actual rectangle. Last time I used the rectangle with the middle panel piece. You can see the rectangle up above there. Here are the two pieces. I used both of those on the first card. I'm only going to use this panel for the front of this card because I just want to add all of the little die cut pieces to the front of my card. We're going to tape it in place, run this through our die cutting machine, make sure you keep the card opened up so it only makes the design on this one panel. We'll remove it, and then we've got a beautiful scene card on the front with this interactive door element. The door is actually going to open for this card design. Now, why am I using Bristol smooth cardstock? That is because I am creating basically a one-layer card here. Yes, there's going to be some little die cuts actually added to the front, plus die cuts added to the inside. But we're not adding a decorative panel to the front of our card. We're going to color the decorative panel that's been kind of die cut into the front of our card. Because of this, I had to choose a coloring medium that wouldn't bleed through the cardstock. Zig Clean Color Real Brush Markers are one of my favorites for this technique. Colored pencils are also a good option, or other water-based markers that aren't going to bleed through. Very much like my first card, I am going to be coloring in all the bricks on the front of the card design with my markers. I know I mentioned earlier, I also wanted this to look like white brick. In order to achieve that, very, very light gray markers used to color these in. Yes, it looks very gray until you add in the dark door, the greenery, the bows, all of the things. And then it does really look like a white bricked card or white bricked house. So we're just going to color this all in. I have sped this up to save a little time, but I did leave the coloring in. I know many of you really enjoy the coloring aspect of the videos, seeing the color combinations, watching the scenery come to life, getting, ideas on how to maybe color your kit once you get it at your house and start putting your holiday cards together with the November 2019 My Monthly Hero Kit. So brick first. I'm going to brick the whole house. Once we've bricked the house, we are going to color the casing around the door and then around that arch window up above. We're going to color that with these same two colored markers. So meaning it's going to be a really, really light casing, kind of a white look, but our door is going to be in browns because I wanted it to look like a brown wooden door. This is something that kind of deviates from the first card, as in it's just a little bit different. Wanted to show a different option. However, much of the card is very similar. I did leave off those cute little envelopes from this card, but I'm really feeling like I might go back and add those just because I love them so much for the first card, and I just kind of forgot about them with this one. You can use them with or without. It definitely doesn't matter. So we're coloring in our door casing and the window casing for the arch window. Very light. It's not going to be super prominent like it was in the first card. However, the door, when colored with browns, is definitely going to be a focal point. And it's just going to be a little bit more rustic, I guess I would say. So for the door, I don't want my marker colors to kind of get underneath the edge. There's lots of die cutting here. And by under the edge, I mean I'm probably going to need to take a scrap piece of paper and just slip it underneath the three sides of the door that open, that I've cut all the way through, to protect the rest of my house. So I did kind of move my paper around while I worked on this. And I'm coloring in my door with the brown markers. I had to work a little bit harder on this door than I did the last one, simply to get the coloring to look the way I wanted it to look. So I traced out the door with deep brown and I'm coloring out with brick beige. And I'm really going to have to work at this, as I mentioned, because the first coloring, you can see how light it is. And in the finished card, it's much deeper. I wanted it to be much deeper. And I needed to color it a couple times. Plus, I want all of the panels on the door to really stand out, and I felt like they blended out a little too much. So we'll go back with our dark color, and we're just going to pull more of that out into the door. This is a little bit more of what I had in mind. Yes, this is a little messy right now, but definitely I have a little bit more of that dark effect in mind for this card. We're going to finish coloring this, kind of keep working on the exact color we want. Once the door looks the way I want it to look, I'm going to very carefully go around each of those panels and add my dark color in. And that will really emphasize those awesome panels on the door. The doorknob, colored in shades of gray. And I actually went back and added deep gray to that or dark gray to that. I didn't think it was quite dark enough. We're using some green shades for the greenery around the top of the door frame. Just like before, this time mid-green and olive green. Really traditional. Both cards are very alike in the fact that they're traditional colors. The bows, instead of doing super bright red here, I went with a little deeper red with deep red and pale rose as my color combination. Add in that color. I'm using a scrap piece of paper to protect what I've already colored and not smear my hand through it. So if you are like me and you maybe lay your hand down when you're coloring, that's always a good option as well. So if you're wondering kind of why I've laid this paper over what I'm coloring, it helps me hold the paper in place, but mostly it protects me from putting my hand in still wet ink and smearing it across my card. For the mat, we're going to use mid-brown and beige for a very, traditional looking mat here. And then we'll stamp the word hello with black ink right on our welcome mat. And then other than the window sconces, that's basically it for the front of our card. Now remember, this is interactive, so we do want to add a few more things to the front of the card to dress it up, but a lot of things are going to be going on the inside of the card. That's going to feature a staircase, a tree, some cute critters, and a gift package, as well as decorating the banister on the staircase, and a sentiment. So I really went all in with making the inside of this card as beautiful as the front, and you can see a peek of it when you open up that front door to the house on the front of the card, but you can see the whole scene if you open the card all the way. Here's that hello greeting. I'm going to use a little VersaFine ONYX black ink to add that to my rug. One thing I want to do before I stamp, die cut, and add the sentiments to the inside of my card is, on the first card, I had the light coming through the window on the front of the card. I just colored a panel back behind. Well, this is interactive. So I opted instead to just take a little lemon drop reactive ink and apply that to the background of my card, almost like the glow from lights being on, the lights being on the tree, the lights being on in the house, so that it shows through the window on the front of our card design. And you can kind of see that on the left side of the screen there in the upper left corner. And then I've stamped the tree, ribbons, staircase, dog, hat, and mouse. Not pictured, I also stamped a gift package from the main kit stamp set on Bristol Smooth cardstock with the ink on 3 fade out no line coloring ink. I'm going to color these in with no line coloring. I opted for no line coloring because even though we're going to die cut these and they will have a little white outline, I feel like the no line coloring coordinates better with the coloring on our front porch panel. The staircase, I did stamp and color on a separate piece of cardstock. There is not a coordinating die for this in the main kit. I opted to do this because there is an add-on, and it's called the Staircase Fancy Die, that you can make work. It is a solid die, which means it's like the topiaries or the wreath or the envelopes. You can stamp and color it. And I could have done that. I'll be really honest. When I made this card, I kind of forgot that there wasn't a staircase die in the main kit. And I got to the point where I had already stamped and colored this, and I was like, oh no. And I made it work. And I want to show you how you can make it work too. So when we get to die cutting these images, I'm going to show you how I fixed it so that I was able to use this on my card. But if you don't want to fiddle with all of those extra steps, I highly recommend getting the Staircase Fancy die cut it, color it, and add it to your card. Or you can stamp this stamp directly on the card and color it in. I was layering some elements back behind it, and so that really didn't work for me, and it's why I chose to die cut this instead. So I've colored in the ribbons that we're going to decorate the banister. I'm onto the tree now. We're going to just color that in with our olive green and mid green. Same green colors we're using for almost everything on our card. We'll be using these for the wreath and topiaries as well. And I'm going to color these in first, and then we'll go back and color in the decorations on the tree. I traced the whole tree in mid-green and then went around it in olive green to blend it out. And this is a fantastic tree. There are way more images than what I ended up using. There's just so many options. It's one of the reasons I absolutely love this kit. It was really hard to choose. So there's also an awesome chair, like a wingback chair, a grandfather clock, a stocking, a cat in a boot, an individual cat. You could do a cat and a dog inside instead of just the dog like I did. I think that would be fun. You could put the Santa hat on both of them or one or the other. And then there's a dog laying on a rug curled up sleeping. So those are the additional images available. I also think there's like a poinsettia and then some other little mistletoe or something in this. So lots and lots of fantastic images to create all the Christmas scene cards, which I'm crazy about scene cards, so that's exciting. I added lots of colors of bulbs to the tree. We're going to color in our dog now with mid-brown kind of as the outline, mustard as my mid-tone color, and then the blender to blend that color out. And then we only have a couple things left. The mouse with the candy cane. That was a challenge to color with no line coloring. It is so teeny tiny. It actually ended up being okay. If you don't worry too much about being exactly in the lines, it's not the end of the world. So what I did was kind of add in the gray colors for the mouse. If you're using red at all with water-based markers like this and you're worried about them bleeding, color the light color in first. So that trim around the Santa hat and the pom-pom, that was warm gray 2 in the blender, and then the deep red and pale rose. For the mouse, I did go in with my deep red for the candy cane stripes first, and I was not super specific. There are lots of little stripes in that, and it's really hard to see. So I just kind of guessed it. You're not ever going to know. So it's because the fade out ink will fade over time, and you're just going to be left with your candy cane. And then I used some of the warm grays that I've already used to color in the mouse. We are going to die cut everything. I did take my fancy cut die and die cut it from a separate piece of cardstock, lay that over the colored piece, and then removed that once I lined up the die, and die cut my staircase. Now that we have our die cuts, I'm ready to start assembling the inside of the card. I want to make sure that anything that's going in the background is adhered first. That's going to be our Christmas tree. Then we'll add the staircase. We're not going to need the entire staircase from that staircase fancy cut die, so I'll be trimming some of that off that did die cut and isn't colored in. Once I have my tree in place, we're going to add that staircase right along the right side. We're going to adorn the banister with our beautiful red ribbons, adhere our dog, and we're going to add a Santa hat to his head. I love these Santa hats. They add so much character. We also want to make sure and add detail back in for the eyes and mouth so that the face really pops. On the front of the card, I did color in the light fixtures that didn't actually die cut all the way out. They would if you press hard, but I've left them in place. I'm going to color those in, and then how I got them to stay put is I actually took a little glue on my finger and I just wiped it on the back of the panel and to kind of secure it in place on the back. Then I let it completely air dry. You can see that it would actually pop out there, but I'm just going to take glue on my finger, wipe it over, leave my card open until the glue dries clear to help secure it so that I don't have to worry about those coming out. It's kind of just a little cheating way for the inlay. Then I added Season's Greetings stamped to the inside of the card, and I'm going to add my little mouse plus a package that was colored with a lot of the same greens and reds from the kit over there to the left of the dog. Don't forget to add in detail for the mouse's eyes, eye, and nose as well. We're going to color in then the topiaries and the wreath with our greens and reds. Mid-green, olive green, mid-brown, beige, deep red, and pale rose were used for the topiaries. I'm going to stick those next to the front door out of the way where the door bends with foam adhesive squares. Then I'm going to color in the wreath just the same. Put some foam adhesive all the way around the wreath shape and then hang it on the front door. This would also be a great time to add the envelopes coming out of the mail slot if you wanted to add those here too. This card features lots of detail and lots of great stamps and dies, but it's so worth it because it makes a fantastic holiday front porch scene card. I hope you've enjoyed this video featuring creating a front porch Christmas holiday type card with the November 2019 My Monthly Hero card kit. The supplies I used to create my kit are listed and linked below the video here on YouTube. Here are a couple more videos featuring My Monthly Hero kits that you might be interested in. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and be sure to subscribe to my channel and hit that notification bell to never miss a video. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you next time.